All right, today we ought to be able to make something, make this look like something. My paint's dry. I got hose, 1.5" to run back to the coupling from the pump, and then 1" to run from the pump up to the flow meter. Obviously got knives. I got screens to go inside the check valve because I forgot to get them when I ordered them from Sprayer Specialists. Fittings, a valve, a coupler. There's really not a whole lot to this, honestly. It's not nearly as bad as like doing a sprayer. So, with that being said, let me get this stuff out of the way. I can get this mounted on the beam real quick. And we should be ready to start doing some assembly. Alright, we can start by getting the gauges mounted up. Alright, I went online and Wilder's got a nice calculator you can download, and it runs in Excel to figure out your float ball selection. Unfortunately, I need to run about 1.8 GPM for the application rate I'm putting on, which is just, it's like half a gallon per minute outside the working range of the 1/2" stainless steel balls. Apparently there's a 7/16 stainless steel ball that you can get that doesn't come standard in the kit. So I just threw the 1/2 inchers in there for now, and we'll see how they run, and if need be I'll have to get the 7/16 ones around so that it works right. Well, that didn't... Oh, because I forgot to... Okay, I know what I did. But will this one work down here? That one will work down there. Okay, I gotta go grab a longer bolt. Alright, so we're gonna make one change here. Once you get the bolt in, you're kind of in the way of the pin. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go get a piece of 1/2 inch thick flat stock and make a spacer puck to go right here. And we'll just take this and move it back here. Alright, tower's on, pressure gauge is on. And while we're on the subject of assembling stuff, we might as well get the check valves put together. Okay, so we got several parts here. First off, Or the well, this is the check valve body. In, out. And these are the orifices that'll go in. 2 different size orifices. I got 2 for the outside that are half rate orifices and then full rate orifices, because rows 1 and 9 are going to be overlap every time you make a round. So half plus a half makes a whole. And these guys go inside these little O-ring dealio. Well, they're not O-ring, but they are a special sealing ring with a groove in them for that. And then strainer screen goes in, orifice, and then the lock ring, or the lock. Like, nice thing is these are T-jet, so you can get parts for them anywhere. It's not like they're anything special. And they come standard with a 5-pound cap. That's a little excessive for what we're doing. So for this application, they have you use, I think this is like a 1 or a 2-pound cap. It's fairly substantial, the amount of spring difference there is in it. So there's that one. And I'm going to have to do something just so they don't get mixed up. I'm going to have to do something to these outside too to make sure. Oh, wait, and I forgot. These orifices are supposed to get installed a certain way. Let me check real quick. I can't remember if the numbers are supposed to go. I think the numbers are supposed to go towards the. Hold on, let me check. Okay, I'm glad I remembered to check that. So, orifice goes in with the side with the number stamped on it facing the outlet. So in this case, into the lock ring. Alright, I think I might just throw if we do this, I don't know how long it'll last, but it'll at least keep them from getting mixed up going on for right now. So if we just take a Sharpie and color that, that way we know those two are our half-rate nozzles. So I'll get the rest of these put together real quick. And while we're here at the bench, might as well put this guy together. I still need to go get a coulter so I can get the spring and stuff off of it, since the spring that came on this thing is broke. Should go. is that part. So this can go on the toolbar. All right, pump mount's on. It's snug, it's not tight. And I got set screws in. The drive wheel and everything itself is just in there. I didn't tighten anything up because in order to get this thing back out, I'm gonna have to take it back off because all this extra weight hanging out here, I probably wouldn't be able to pick it up. So we can now get the pump put on. Well, you know the old adage, no good plan survive first contact with the enemy. Had to go back to the drawing board on where this was going to be because I was sitting here looking at it and I was doing some measuring. It's like, you know what? Because I had it offset to one side and it's offset to one side on the post in the whole 9 yards. When this wing came over center, it was going to wipe that thing clean off the bracket. That side would have cleared okay, but this side was a no-go. So took the pump back off and got the forklift back up here and drug it back outside and folded it all up and looked at it all folded up to see what could go where. And basically folded up with everything where it's going to be. The safest place to end up putting that is going to be right here. So we're going to take a piece of 1/2x2. My favorite old crusty rusty piece that doesn't weld for shit, but it's the only 1/2x2 we got. And make a bracket that we can stand right here. And well, I can still use that post exactly the way it is. We'll just make it bolt here instead of bolt there. So let me get that out of the way real quick. Remember, welding and woodworking, you can never have too many clamps. All right, we're still not too terrible. It's still, I mean, you're still only 3 feet away from the tractor. You'll be able to see it plenty fine, and it's plenty stout. You're not gonna, if you bend that, you have bigger problems. So That should work out pretty good. And with that being like that, now we should be able to, like in here somewhere, figure out how big my bundle of hoses is going to be, and then cut some slivers of pipe to weld on here to run the hoses through so that they're captured here. Or something to that effect. But since we're in fabrication mode, need to make a bracket to mount this guy to, and figure out the best place to put it. That's open, so I'm gonna want it facing that way. Maybe. I want it facing that way. And let's put this thing together loose. And I might end up changing this piece because naturally I needed an 1.5 inch pipe to 1.5 inch hose barb. That's the one that they were out of. So I might change, and I'm thinking I got this just because I thought, yeah, maybe it might work, but just looking at it, I don't think I'm gonna like it. Unless, actually, no, I might like that, because if we put that back here, that keeps it protected. That actually, I might like that. How far? Because if we did that, then I could just make a plate that welds right here. We could put that right there. That leaves plenty of space for that. And actually, I probably put it, if I could put it up right about here somewhere. That leaves plenty of space for that latch to move. And that 90 would let us run the hose. So actually, I do like that, because if I had a straight, especially with that. So yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. And actually, truthfully, we might actually turn this down, because, well, let me put that wheel back on real quick. I still think we'll end up running the hose over top of the toolbar, because that wheel is probably hardly ever going to get lower than where it is right there. And that still puts the suction side, basically it's about splitting the toolbar, so it'll make more sense to go up over top than to try to go underneath. But anyway, I think that'll work. I think that'll work pretty decent if we went and just put this right here, left that 90 in it, and then 90'd out, and just made a straight shot over to there, and put this right here. That keeps that far back, or far enough back it's safe from getting smacked with anything. And we can make up the difference with the hose coming off the cart. So I like that. I think that's what we're going to do. Alright, so I found a piece of stock to make. And basically what we're going to do is turn this valve into a bulkhead. That's a piece of 4 by... It's not 4 by half. It might be... I think it's 4 by 3/8. Anyhow... 4-inch plate. This is 3.5 by 3.5. Actually, I bet if you measured it, it's probably actually metric, but you know, it might not be, because I think these green leaves are made in the USA. They might be standard because it doesn't got metric bolts in it. Anyhow, so it's 3.5 by 3.5 with a 2 3/4 bolt spread, and then I didn't measure it. I just found a hole saw that fit over this. So take that plate, saw a hole in it to clear that, and then punch my bolt holes in it, and then this will bolt to the back of that plate and that'll pass through. So that's what we got going on. Unfortunately, we do not have an annular cutter that goes that big, so I got to use an actual hole saw, which sucks because hole saws suck. Once you use a annular cutter, you never want to use a hole saw again. Apparently there's 2 sharp teeth on that one. And the biggest problem you get with hole saws is they don't clear chips very well, especially when you run cutting oil. But you gotta run cutting oil because they chatter if you don't. Alright, valves mounted, so that's good to go. I am going to put, obviously, a inline strainer basket, but I figure to keep the clutter to a minimum, because the toolbar is already going to be really busy. In order to keep clutter to a minimum, I'll put the strainer basket on the trailer. That way, because there will obviously be more room on the trailer. That way we don't have to have a whole bunch of crap right here. So now I think we can, actually I need to go remember where I put my rebuild kit, because I think it had a gasket, because I need to take that elbow and turn it around. Where did I put that thing? Or maybe it didn't have a, I can't remember if it did or didn't have the gasket. Alright, it seems like I took that rebuild kit home and put it in my parts room. I'll have to go look. Which is fine, because I've got the wrong damn fitting for up here anyhow. I could have swore that was 1-inch pipe on the outlet. That's 3/4 pipe. So I'll have to get a 3/4 pipe to 1-inch elbow to come out of there to go up into the flow meter. So we can work on getting the knives mounted. I can already tell you, I'm not a big fan of how these knives work, because obviously the proximity of the knife to the coulter is kind of important. And on these, the only way you have to adjust it is to rock it in and out, and I don't like that. I much prefer the knives that are on my boss's DMI has, I think it's got Yetters on it. If it doesn't have Yetter coulters on it, I know he runs Yetter knives on it, and the Yetter knives are actually thicker up here in the top, and the holes are slotted in and out so that you can slide the whole knife towards and away from the coulter to close this gap up, because you don't want to run a very wide gap, because then it plugs with trash, and that's when you start plugging your knives. You want to run the knife as close to the coulter as you can get it. And I just don't like this whole pivot dealio they got going on here. If these aren't hardened, which they probably are, it wouldn't be that big of a, kind of a big deal, because the tube's in the way. I was gonna say I could put them in the mill and mill a slot in that top hole and get a little bit out of it, but I think, they obviously worked this way before, so I know they got a bunch of different, they got different holes, but they're already in the furthest set of holes forward. So I guess we'll just, obviously they must have worked like this, otherwise they wouldn't make them like this. And these are the knives that come with these coulters, because they're CO50s, which is what, at least coming straight from chute, is what these come with out of the box. So I guess we'll just try them like that for now, and then obviously you need, that one's not in line with the coulter, so you got to shim it till it's in line with the coulter. And I don't have very many shims, so I might have to make a few, because if I remember right, I looked on Shoop and you can't buy the shims separate for some reason. Maybe you can, but if I can, they're just a piece of flat plate with a couple holes in them. They wouldn't be that hard to make up real quick, and I got 2 more up there, so I guess we can start seeing what it's going to take to mount these things. I love love working on stuff that's been around fertilizer. So that one was pretty good with one shim in it. So I also figured they'd run these things further in the ground, but I guess not. That's all the further, that's all the down you got. It can't go no lower. So I guess I'll go grab a few bolts. And I'll run up. I got more shims up there in the crate. I'll get what I need and get what I got. And if nothing else, I don't think we got some material. I think that's just 1/8 inch. Wouldn't be that hard to make some up real quick if we need them. So let me get stuff around and then we will continue on. I could have used a longer bolt too, dang. I'm gonna get shorter bolts for down there, because I got no clue why they were running bolts that dang long. It doesn't make a lick of sense. Alright. 2 inches work a whole lot better than 2.5. I don't know why they had them long bolts on there. Especially working around fertilizer. The longer the bolt you got, the more thread you got sticking out, that much harder it is to get it apart, because it's going to be all rusted up when it comes time. Like these top ones, you get this great big long bolt hanging out. I think when we go through and get all these on, I'm going to take a grinder down through here and saw them all off, so you don't get this big dork hanging out. It's just one more thing to catch trash when you're running. Alright, there's one. Can't see. Also, there's more than one thickness of shim apparently, because the one of them that was up there in the box is like 3/16. So down the line we go. Alright, I think we've reached our stopping point for today, because I got to get this thing out of here, because Dad needs a shot tomorrow. But all the knives are on. I had to make 4 Had to make 4 spacers. A couple 1/8 inchers and a couple 3/16, but we had material to do all of them, so didn't get quite as far as I would have liked to today, but we caught the hiccup on the mast there before it became an issue, so that would have really sucked to find after I had ran all the hoses. So luckily we didn't have to do that. So tomorrow I gotta go get an elbow for the top of the pump that's actually the right size. And then once I got that, and we can flip the elbow around on the bottom, we can get the hoses run to the pump, or well, one hose run to the pump and then the other one goes up to the tower. And we should be able to at least get the jumper hoses run between the knives and the check valves, because Dad's gonna get some stainless steel hose clamp, not hose clamps like hose clamps that you have for running hoses. It'll make sense when you see it. So we can't run any main lines until those get here. But really, that's it. We're down to plumbing. Everything that's got to be on it is on it right now. So, and hydraulic cylinders, which we think we got that figured out. So, with any luck at all, I might only have to buy one, because I got one, but it's got a busted clevis. But as long as Dad can find a clevis for it, then I can just buy a clevis for that one and just have to bite off buying one cylinder. That won't be too bad. So, oh, and I can get the spring. We can get the spring put on that, so it's kosher. And I gotta get tubes. I can do that tomorrow too. I gotta get tubes for the tires, because both tires went flat on me, which I kind of suspected, but it's like, it's worth a shot. So, with that being said, I guess we'll catch you guys tomorrow. And tomorrow might be warm enough that we might actually just be able to work on this outside, because it's supposed to get nice again this week. So hopefully by the end of the week we're back to chisel plowing. It'll be nice. Catch a few more acres anyhow. Alright, the weather's back to being nice, so we don't have to drag this thing inside again. But I was thinking last night after I let you guys go and was cleaning up my mess, and I was looking at these things and trying to figure out the best way to put them on here, because I mean, it's not really something you want flopping around and I mean, you can't, there's no good spot to tie it up. And I got to thinking, you know, the way these fittings work in the top is they just, come on, there's just a seal in there, and you just run these things down and bottom them out. And then to keep them from backing off, you run this nut up and you jam it. And I got to thinking, you know, that nut, I mean, it can get jammed whether that nut doesn't necessarily have to be jammed up against this to jam the thread. So I got to thinking, you know, if I could just make up a plate that would catch this bolt and catch this guy and just have it hanging right here, that keeps them nice and protected. And you punch your hole in there for clearance for this, so you can thread this into here and then jam the nut against the top of the plate, and then the thread is essentially jammed as if the nut was jammed up against the check valve body, and away you go. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I just got to figure out a piece of angle iron would make things real easy, because you just punch one hole in this leg and one hole in this leg, and away you go. It just doesn't have to be very obnoxiously heavy, because all it's got to do is hold this. I mean, it ain't, no matter what size angle iron you use, you're going to break this but long before you ever bend that angle iron, no matter what you use. So let me see what I can come up with for some angle iron, and we'll make us some brackets and get some paint slapped on them so that we can put that stuff on tomorrow. All right, it's a little overkill yet, but we had some, it's the, I guess the thinnest stuff we had laying around, short of cutting a piece of flat sheet metal and bending my own angle. But I found some 2x2 by 3/16 and whacked a chunk off. I think I determined, I'm going to go out and check one more time. I think I determined if I made them 3 inches long, they'll come out. That'll be plenty. So let me double check my numbers. We'll get some steel cut and we'll punch a few holes. All right, 3 inches will be perfect. And since I'm cutting multiples, I cut up put a stop block on it, so all you gotta do is keep running down and resetting. That way you don't gotta measure every single time. Except we do need to do that. Alright, I'm set up. I'll be able to work all the parts off the same zero. It's a matter of how they lay in the vise. And there'll be a hole going here for, that'll be the hole for the U-bolt, and then there'll be a hole right here. That'll be the one for the check valve. It takes 2 operations to put both holes in. One is your pilot drill and then one is your actual on-size drill. So go through and do both operations on one hole first and then move over, because I have to move down to 2.5 inches to get to this hole, and go through and do 2 operations for that, and then away you go. Alright, I got 9 of them nine of them made. You don't turn angle iron on a lathe. I mean, I guess you could if you had the right chuck, but I don't know what you would do. So those will go on there like that. And this hole's drilled in such a way that this edge will kind of set back in this recess, so that when you tighten it, it doesn't try to yank. Actually, I guess tightening it would try to go like that. So either way, it can't. And that will just be on there like that, and it kind of helps protect that check valve and gives it a good spot to be, and won't have hose flopping. And the only thing that would be better is if this was a 90 that way, but it'll work. And I also thought about putting it down here, but then you get, which I guess that wouldn't be that bad either. I mean, the way they're made, they can go in either spot, but that might not be terrible, because I don't think the coulter, there's no way the coulter would be able to get to it. And it kind of puts the hose in a natural spot to come off of there and lay down beside the, because I'll probably tie the hose off right here, just because it's there, might as well. So that might be where we end up going with it. So yeah, one of the two. We'll have to try it and just see how it looks. I think down here gives you a lot more. I think down here might be better. Of course, I guess the only thing about down there, can we get this thing up enough to flip it over? Maybe. I guess if it goes there, that's not so good. So, yeah, we'll put them up here for sure. So, go in there, get those things cleaned up and hung, and shoot some paint on them, and we'll move on to what else we can get done today. Alright, I got those shot with primer, and my hands are, oh, this one's worse. I hate this time of year. Back my hands dry out and crack something crazy, and you get lacquer thinner on that dry skin. Oh boy, you know it. But we're going to, we got to flip this elbow around so it's pointing out the other direction. I looked for the rebuild kit, and maybe that kit didn't have this gasket in it. And maybe I'll get lucky and it's actually, no, it's a gasket. I was gonna say, maybe I get lucky and they put an O-ring groove in it, but, so I can't find it. Maybe I ended up using up the whole kit, and, there was nothing left in it, so I just threw it out. Because it ain't at my house, it ain't here. And if it ain't nowhere, chances are that means it went in the trash. So, naturally they don't give you enough room to get a ratchet or a ratchet wrench on these. So hold while I fight these bolts with a regular wrench. And well, luckily, it didn't tear, and it ain't in bad shape. So I think I might throw a little bit of Permatex on there and just reuse that gasket, because the faces aren't in that bad a shape either. May as well. Alright, pump and drive and everything's mounted. I ended up not having to go to town to get a fitting because I was digging through my stuff last night from the planter. Actually, take that back. Well, some of it's from the planter, but this was actually on the toolbar that I bought, that I got the pump off of. It was stuck in the splitter manifold they had, so I was like, use that. So I got that fitting. But looking at this, I almost don't want to run hoses until we get the cylinders on here and figure out how they lay when they're folded up, because the natural place right now that you want to run the hoses is to come down and bring them together and sneak through here like this over to here and then up to the tower. But if that cylinder comes in when the wing folds over and lays flat, it's going to crush them hoses. I don't think it lays flat. I don't think it can because of the way, but I'd still like to know how that cylinder is going to lay in there before we run the hoses up to the pump, because there ain't no sense in crushing the hoses. So, yeah, we're going to have to figure out that part once the cylinders are on. I think is going to be the safest bet. So, I mean, really, there ain't much left to do besides run hoses. Everything's, the knives are all on, the coulters are all on. Oh, we gotta get a spring on here. Which I'm going to get one of these off of one of the spare coulters up there. That we need to get this gauge done But outside of those three things, basically I'm down to running hoses. And then this is done. Oh, and tubes, which since I didn't go to town, I didn't get tubes for the tires. So let me figure out where Dad's got his push to connect hoses stashed, and we can run this real quick. Alright, so the first thing we gotta do is open up the gauge port in this T. And we put this guy in here and this guy in here. You know what, I'm gonna get a pipe tap. There's some paint in there I want to get cleaned out. That's better. Lily, get back from the road. Come on. Lily, come on. I don't know what it is, but she found there. She's got something. She keeps going and trying to sniff over the neighbor's hayfield. Lily, get over here. Yeah, you, come on. That fell. Alright, and there's our gauge hose. Alright, I went up and got a spring, but I need a 5/8 by 11 bolt to put it back together, which we ain't got, so I'm gonna have to get one. I thought about making it using just a piece of threaded rod, but I'm afraid it might break. I don't think we have any. I can't remember what the grade 8 equivalent of threaded rod is, but I don't think we have any. So I'll have to get a bolt for it, and then the spring can go on. But basically we're down running hose. I need to get some Dad's gonna order some hose holders and clamps for me tomorrow from one of his suppliers, and we're working on he's working on finding, this is a 3x16 cylinder, which is one of what I need. I need two of them that I got given to me, but the tail end clevis is broke. One of the dog ears is broke off of it, so Dad's trying to see if he can get me a new end for it. And then that cylinder will be good to go, and then I can just buy, Royal King sells those Delavan cylinders, so I can just buy another. They had one on the shelf when I was there the other night, but they didn't have two. But if I can get away with just buying one, that's even better. So when we get that figured out, we can get hydraulics on it so the thing will fold and unfold under power. And then, so we're down to the nitty-gritty end here. It's just a matter of waiting on some small detail parts. So, and it's going to be a couple days on that. So I think tomorrow I might actually jump back on some chisel plowing if I can. We'll just have to see how things play out. That's what I hate about. I love this weather and I hate this weather all at the same time, because at least in a normal February when the weather's shit, you can say, okay, we're on shop projects for a while where it's too crappy to do anything outside. Well, when you get weather like this, you're like getting torn 20 different directions, because like, well, I could probably be chisel plowing right now. I need to finish working on this. Got tractors that need oil changes, got that all this could be working on some fence rows right now, which fence rows ain't gonna happen at all this winter. That's, we got enough going on, that's probably out of the question. Just, you got so many things that you could be doing and you got to pick. It's like we gotta focus one thing down. So anyhow, I think we're gonna end this one here so that it ends up a little shorter than the last one, because long videos tend to not get that many views, although I've been impressed. Normally the shop videos, I mean, obviously viewership always falls off in the winter on farm channels. It's just the way thing is, because Joe Blow average public doesn't want to see turning wrenches, they just want to see the equipment running. But I've been impressed. This little escapade we get going on here, the views have been, I mean, I've been impressed with the views it's been getting. Obviously the last video being over an hour, that one slowed down a little bit, but it was still pushing 5,000 when I last checked, which is kind of impressive for an hour and 8-minute video, whatever that ended up being. And I will say that as far as videos go, even though the views drop off, the like ratio on these videos that don't get as many views is way higher than like these types of videos get a lot more likes than a normal video that gets a crap ton of views. So you got that going for it. But anyhow, I think that's enough rambling. So that's it for this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Probably chisel plowing. Maybe I plan on chisel plowing, but we'll see how things go.